Hey folks, welcome into the Cam Rogers Show, episode 94 on this Monday morning. It is April 23rd, 2018. I am Cam Rogers. It's Mock Draft Monday, ladies and gentlemen. I am devoting the entire hour to my one and only full-on mock draft. 32 teams. I've done a few top 10 mock drafts, but I only wanted to do one full-on one. It's kind of like fantasy football where you should only have one intense league, ladies and gentlemen, not spread it out with like 7 teams. Same deal with the mock draft. Only one, folks. So let's get into the rules here to start things off. So, no trades in this mock draft. There will be absolute insanity, I think, in this first round. So keep that in mind as I go through my picks. Number 2, I am predicting what will happen, not what should happen or what I think should happen. All right? And then number 3, of course, compliments are encouraged. As always, you want to compliment my fantastic shirt. You know, really brings out the eyes. Maybe my nice little product in my hair here. Now, I am looking ahead because I know people are going to disagree with some of my picks. If you want to insult me, let's be creative, ladies and gentlemen. Saying this guy's an idiot, this guy's a moron, he doesn't watch the tape is getting a little old. Looking at you, YouTube commenters. So, let's be a little creative when we insult yours truly. There's a lot of subject matter to attack here, all right? So let's use our imagination. Without any further ado, let's get into my mock draft and selecting number 1 overall. Of course, the Cleveland Browns, and they're going quarterback, and his name is Sam Darnold out of USC. So, I have been keeping him there at number 1 throughout all of my mocks. He's a project, it's going to take time, and that's absolutely okay, because when you have Tyrod Taylor cemented as the starter for week 1, at least we think, Drew Stanton as the backup, let Sam Darnold grow underneath Hugh Jackson and Todd Haley, who's the new offensive coordinator out there. A much better fit than Josh Rosen in my eyes. Darnold has that blue-collar, kind of gritty attitude that I think will fit really well in the Rust Belt in Cleveland, Ohio. Darnold is the guy, and I think eventually he will become a starter for the Cleveland Browns. And you look at the tools that Cleveland has. They got Jarvis Landry on the outside, Josh Gordon officially at wide receiver, and Carlos Hyde in the backfield. You got Darren Fells as well, a good offensive line with Bitonio and Zeitler. They bring in Chris Hubbard from Jacksonville at tackle. It's all there for Sam Darnold to eventually be ushered in and to be a successful quarterback in the National Football League. Now, as always, we want you commenting and reacting about my picks and whatever the heck I talk about, to be honest with you. Let me know, who is your top quarterback prospect? I got the broadcast, as I always do, on my laptop right now, tracking what you guys say. And as always, Tyler Davis watching the program. Tyler, my man, we appreciate you coming along. Marcus is watching as well. We got Brian, David, Freddie, everybody chiming in on the Cam Rogers Show here today. We certainly appreciate when you guys weigh in and give me your thoughts, and I'll be sure to read them throughout the broadcast here. So, I find it odd, number 1, that Hugh Jackson has already named Tyrod Taylor the starter in week 1 of 2018. I find it odd because he announced it in March, and like you're not going to let Sam Darnold, if he is drafted, compete with Tyrod Taylor and Drew Stanton via the OTAs and the mandatory minicamp and training camp. Find that a little odd, but I got Darnold there at number 1. Ladies and gentlemen, from people I have talked to, there actually is a sector of insiders out there that actually believe Josh Allen could go number 1 overall to the Cleveland Browns. God, I hope that doesn't happen, though. Let's go to number 2 on the board, the New York Giants. I think there's a very real trade-back scenario for New York, but I'm not projecting trades. It's Saquon Barkley, running back out of Penn State. So what I'm hearing is, unless Darnold is there for Dave Gettleman, I think he's going with a generational type of player. And it's either Saquon or Bradley Chubb, granted if they don't trade back on all of that. Saquon obviously is the best running back in the draft. He could very well be the best prospect in the entire draft, although I think Quenton Nelson gets that label. So for Saquon, absolute spark plug. I think he will be a very critical asset to that backfield for the New York Giants, where you see Orleans Darkwa likely moving on to free agency. He hasn't found a new team yet, but I don't think Darkwa is coming back to the Giants. You got Wayne Gallman, more of a third down kind of receiving type of back. And then there's Paul Perkins, and I'm not really sure Giants fans want Paul Perkins trotted out there as the lead back in Week 1 of 2018. Insert Saquon Barkley, who I think can really help the Giants in making this final push here with Eli Manning. I think that's where they're at this juncture. I don't think Gettleman really wants to rush into things and grab a quarterback who he is not necessarily confident with going forward with the Giants franchise. Gettleman wants to win now, and Barkley helps in that process. Now, I do want to know from you guys in the comment section, should the Giants trade back from number 2? Give me a heart in the reaction poll for yes. Give me a like for no. And Tyler saying the Giants will finally have an RB who will reach at least 1,000 yards. You know, that's an interesting homework assignment for you guys watching. When was the last 1,000-yard rusher for the New York Giants? I wonder if it's Tiki Barber in 2008 or something. I mean, you could have to go really far back there, but will be interesting to see what you guys come up with there. Yeah, I mean, I think Saquon goes at number 2. Some mock drafts out there actually have him falling down to like the lower part of that top 10, which I don't think really will happen. So Barkley goes to the Giants at number 2. He is cemented as the lead back there for New York. You got Odell Beckham Jr., perhaps Dez Bryant if that works out. An offensive line that needs help. Now they got Nate Solder at left tackle. We'll see how he does. And apparently Eric Flowers is part of trade rumors out there, so we'll see what happens there. But Saquon goes number 2 to the Giants. Let's stay in New York. Go to number 3 overall. The New York Jets will not select Baker Mayfield. I've got Josh Rosen out of UCLA going to the Jets here. I think they're going to be really happy with the board at this point. I know they have a lot of interest in Baker Mayfield, and the argument could be made he fits really well in Jeremy Bates' system there, the West Coast kind of system that requires really good accuracy. Well, Josh Rosen has pretty darn good accuracy as well, and I think he will blend nicely in New York. I like Rosen a lot. He's really intelligent, really good footwork. That's what I really want to hammer home about Rosen. You saw on the graphic there, really fantastic tennis player. So really good agility and all of that can kind of translate to the football field. So I got Rosen going to the Jets, although, once again, Baker Mayfield also big-time possibility as well. Let's go to the Cleveland Browns, selecting number 4. Thanks to the Houston Texans. And how about this? Bradley Chubb is there. Bradley Chubb is taken. I think this is a pure value selection. I don't think the Cleveland Browns have a need per se on the defensive line. I think Myles Garrett had a really good season a year ago in his rookie campaign, ranked 12th according to Pro Football Focus among defensive linemen last season. So just imagine Myles Garrett, Bradley Chubb opposite each other on that front line for Cleveland. I think that's really scary. Now you could look at linebacker as a need for the Browns, but selecting any linebacker at number 4 is a reach in my eyes. Barkley is off the board. There has been some buzz out there that maybe the Browns trade back and get a quarterback later in that first round, be it a Mason Rudolph or a Lamar Jackson. I pray to God that isn't the case. I think John Dorsey knows what he's doing. He's not messing around. He's getting Chubb there at number 4, and I think he will be a cornerstone of that defensive line alongside Myles Garrett. Now, there is some sort of hole there on the interior with Danny Shelton moving on to the New England Patriots, so we'll see if they address the interior of that defensive line later in the draft, perhaps day 2 and day 3, respectively. All right, so let's summarize my mock draft so far. Darnold at 1, Barkley at 2, Rosen at 3 to the Jets, and then Bradley Chubb there at number 4 going to the Cleveland Browns. I don't think that's all that crazy yet, right, folks? Pretty chalky, if you will. So you're watching the Cam Rogers Show here on Chat Sports Facebook Live. I am Cam Rogers. We are presented by Mizzen and Maine. These are advanced performance fabric shirts that you guys will absolutely love. Products made right here in America. Comfortable.af is indeed the website. Check them out because these shirts are indeed comfortable as F. All right, folks, we thank you guys for chiming in with your comments. Now, it looks like Brian is a little shocked with Rosen to the Jets. Yes, you better believe it, Brian. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. Let's go to pick number 5 here, and the Heisman Trophy winner himself, Baker Mayfield, going to the Denver Broncos. Now, there has been buzz that maybe it's Josh Allen to Denver. I really hope John Elway understands the mistakes of the past, if you will, with the Brock Osweilers and the Paxton Lynches of the big arm, tall quarterbacks. Trust me, I have been in love with that type of frame for a quarterback for many years. But obviously, it's just not working out. And so maybe you try something different here with somebody who is in smaller stature, sure, but very accurate. He's a playmaker. He's gritty. He's competitive. For some reason, I think Elway is going to fall in love with Baker Mayfield. And you see also on the graphic that he'd be a great fit with offensive coordinator Bill Musgrave. Bill Musgrave, an underrated OC who does a really good job at catering to a quarterback's strengths. I think he does that with Baker Mayfield, and there's a very real possibility that Mayfield beats out Case Keenum in OTAs and training camp, and perhaps in terms of preseason reps as well, and Mayfield gets the Week 1 start rather than Case. Not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying there's a very real possibility. So a very intriguing storyline to watch out for in terms of Denver would be their Week 1 starter at the quarterback position. From a personality standpoint, Baker makes a lot of sense here. Ever since Manning, the Broncos have really struggled to find continuity at the quarterback position there. So I think Mayfield could be cemented as the franchise quarterback there at Mile High. So all the pressure is on Case Keenum. There's no pressure on Baker Mayfield to be the starter. Keenum is coming off a really bad NFC Championship game against Philadelphia. He doesn't have the momentum. I think Mayfield has it. All right, let's go to 6 on my list. The Indianapolis Colts get their guy, perhaps the best prospect in the entire draft, Quenton Nelson, guard out of Notre Dame. And if you guys are loyal Cam Rogers Show watchers, as I see in a comment, by the way, PJ saying Nelson to the Colts. He called it. Well done. You guys know that I love Quenton Nelson, and I love elite offensive line play. There is nothing better than sitting back and watching the tape of a road-grading guard pancaking opposing linebackers, defensive linemen, and maybe, where applicable, to that second level and knocking off a couple of safeties. Quenton Nelson is a fantastic guard. And the Colts re-signed Jack Mewhort. That's step 1, very important. I thought they should have signed Andrew Norwell. They had the salary cap space to do it. Really not sure why Chris Ballard couldn't get that done. They also have Matt Slauson there at guard. All right, a good veteran player. Has dropped off a little bit in recent years. Quenton Nelson, though, no weaknesses. I dare you guys to tell me a weakness with Nelson. I can't find one. I can't. So he could be a Week 1 starter for Indianapolis. What's the priority now for Chris Ballard? Protect the franchise quarterback, Andrew Luck. We have gone through months and months and months of Andrew Luck injury talk, and I'm sure Ballard and surely Indianapolis Colts fans are tired of hearing about it. So hopefully Luck comes back healthy, number 1, but Nelson will certainly aid in the process of keeping Luck upright. And Nelson, of course, will help in the run game as well. The Colts should most certainly pound the rock a lot more going into 2018, but they're still looking for that number 1 running back as we stand. So we'll see what happens with Indianapolis there. I got them taking Quenton Nelson at 6. Let's go to number 7, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I've got them going with Minkah Fitzpatrick, defensive back out of Alabama. So with Tampa Bay here, Quenton Nelson makes a lot of sense, but he's off the board. Bradley Chubb makes a lot of sense. He's gone as well. Rookie Ryan Smith last year was not very good, but of course, a rookie campaign. There's still time for him. Brent Grimes was just okay. 2016 was a lot better for him. If you look at safety, TJ Ward had a bit of a drop-off campaign, and I'm really not sure Chris Conte deserves to be a starter in the National Football League. So, yes, there are needs at guard. Like I mentioned, J.R. Sweezy was really bad. But Fitzpatrick is the ultimate modern-day defensive back here in the NFL. He can do it all. A little safety, a little nickel corner. Heck, he can come back as a linebacker in some sub-blitz packages here. The Bucs need explosive players on defense, and they've addressed that a little bit. Bo Allen from Philadelphia, JPP via the trade with the New York Giants, but they need somebody back there in the secondary that really can change the course of a game, and I think Minkah Fitzpatrick is that guy. So I've got him at number 7 going to Tampa Bay. I think the Bucs will really fall in love with him, a true playmaker there in the secondary for TB. All right, let's go to number 8. We got the Chicago Bears. So I see a need at the front 7 here, and I've got them grabbing Tremaine Edmunds, linebacker out of Virginia Tech. Now, GM Ryan Pace craves athletic traits. He wants athletic specimens on that team, and I think Edmunds fits that mold. You look at the history here with Pace, Trubisky, Leonard Floyd, Kevin White. These guys were all touted as great general athletes. Edmunds is a great general athlete. He is a little raw, will need some coaching, but he's turning 20 in less than a month. So the kid is pretty darn young. Edmunds 6'5", 250. The Bears can play him inside, which I think makes the most sense. He played inside linebacker at Virginia Tech, perhaps as an outside 3-4 alongside Leonard Floyd there, which I think could go down as well. One thing with Edmunds, his instincts, got to improve them a little bit more. Tends to bite on those play fakes a little too much, but again, he's young. Plenty of room to grow here. The ceiling is really high for Tremaine, and I think with Chicago, the need isn't really all that great in the front 7, but it's there. So they have some time to kind of coach up Tremaine. You don't have to really push him into the fray. I like Danny Trevathan there at linebacker, so there's no real need to rush Tremaine into week 1 of 2018, but perhaps he gets a good amount of reps as we go throughout the regular season. All right, so let's summarize my mock draft so far. 1 through 4, Darnold to the Browns, Saquon to the Giants, Rosen to the Jets, Bradley Chubb to the Cleveland Browns, Baker Mayfield to the Broncos, Quenton Nelson to the Colts, Minkah Fitzpatrick to the Bucs, Tremaine Edmunds to the Chicago Bears. Now, of course, we always have some Niners fans watching the show, so let's go to number 9 here with San Francisco selecting. I've got Roquan Smith, linebacker out of Georgia. Fluid, explosive player, really good sideline to sideline. It's time to face the reality of what is the Reuben Foster legal situation. And here's the update for you 49ers fans. So the alleged victim in the case, his former girlfriend, hired a lawyer. That could mean many things out there. I am no law student, but it could mean the alleged victim is looking for just general legal guidance, or it could perhaps mean that she may not want to testify and all this stuff. So outside of the Reuben Foster situation here, you look at the front 7, and there's a gaping hole at inside linebacker because Foster is going to be suspended for 6 games at the very least. I think that is the best case scenario for the 49ers. So you got Brock Coyle, you got Eli Harold. Those are the best options at linebacker there after Foster. But Roquan is a tremendous, intelligent linebacker. He won the Butkus Award for a reason, ladies and gentlemen. He's absolutely unbelievable. He's the safer pick than, say, a Tremaine Edmunds. And I think at this juncture, the 49ers have to go safe. They can't, roll the dice here with Tremaine because Roquan may need to be a starter in week 1 of 2018. So I like him a lot, and you guys should let me know also what you think about Reuben Foster. Should the 49ers move on from Reuben? Should they cut him now or kind of let the legal process kind of carry out there? So let me know in the comments section. I do see some questions flowing in. I will get to your questions, guys. Don't you worry. Got to keep it rolling a little bit here with the mock draft. But at the next recap, we'll take a look at some of you guys' questions. So don't worry about that. Let's go to number 10 here. We've got the Oakland Raiders. So Roquan's off the board. Tremaine's off the board. So they go cornerback here. Denzel Ward out of Ohio State. First of all, love the addition of Rashawn Melvin. He's a good corner coming on over from Indianapolis. Played really well for the Colts last year. After that, there are question marks. You look at Sharice Wright. He ain't very good. He played for my Ravens a couple years ago. Trust me, he's not good. Sean Smith got cut. Roquan's off the board, like I mentioned. So I think they go secondary, and Denzel Ward can immediately help that Raiders back end, even if it's in the slot. And some believe that Denzel's great footwork will allow him to play on the outside at corner. I'm not 100% sure if he will, but at the very worst, he can be cemented as your Patrick Robinson, Chris Harris Jr., Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie type of slot corner for many, many years. So I like him a lot for the Oakland Raiders. Rashawn Melvin on the outside is good as well. And I think Ward's gritty mentality fits the John Gruden type of mentality there in Oakland. So seamless fit there with Denzel Ward going to those Raiders. Let's go to number 11 now with Miami. Now, I think Josh Allen is really tempting here, but they don't go Josh Allen. Vita Vea, defensive lineman out of Washington. So the Dolphins released Ndamukong Suh, citing a culture change, whatever that means. Now there's a need on the interior of that defensive line. Vita Vea, incredible nose guard who can play all three downs. 6'4", 347 pounds, but he moves really well for his size. That's the real important thing here. For crying out loud, he actually lined up at edge at times in 2016 for those Huskies. So it's like, you can move him around if you want to. Obviously, the Dolphins would not. They would lock him in there on the interior. There's some tape that shows him disappointing at times. He's still a little raw there. With the proper coaching there, I think he could be a really quality replacement for Ndamukong Suh. Now, the Dolphins have Jordan Phillips heading into his 4th year. He's getting a little better. You got Godshaw as well, but he's more of a rotational guy, in my opinion. Should not be a starter for Miami. Vita Vea for the Dolphins at number 11. Could be a minor reach. I think Vea is more of a 15, 13-ish type of player. But at number 11 there, I don't think Miami goes with Josh Allen. I actually think this team does. The Buffalo Bills there at number 12. Look, no trade needs to happen because Allen falls all the way down. And there he is, quarterback out of Wyoming. So I don't like this personally. But this is what I think will happen. Like I said at the beginning of the show with my Cam Rogers rules of the draft here, I'm saying what I think will happen, not what necessarily should happen. So Allen has the ceiling of a Pro Bowl quarterback and the floor of Jamarcus Russell. That's just the reality of the situation. He's a roll of the dice. First off, the Bills have A.J. McCarron, but after that, it's bleak, and I'm talking about Nathan Peterman. No thanks. Allen actually has pretty good mobility. If you watch some of the tape, he can move sneakily well. He's labeled as a pocket passer, but he doesn't have to be at times. Now, you may see this as lazy analysis, but I think we really have to look at the weather in Orchard Park as a reason for the lack of development at the quarterback position for the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen has a cannon that can pierce through the cold winds of Buffalo, the snow, the frozen tundra, as they say, which is more of Lambeau Field. But I think Allen has that Buffalo Bill kind of fit, and I think it works out well at number 12 here with him falling down that line. Tyrod Taylor used to send floaters in the air when he played for the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen will not do that. A.J. McCarron has an okay arm, but obviously not like Allen. Let me know what you guys think about him. He's a polarizing figure here in this 2018 NFL Draft. Will he bust in the National Football League? Will it be Pro Bowl, the ceiling, or will it be Jamarcus Russell, which is the floor, in my opinion? Certainly let me know, and we'll see what happens with Mr. Josh Allen. But I have him going to the Buffalo Bills there. Tyler says Jackson over Josh Allen. I agree, Tyler, but this is how I see things shaken out. Who's chiming in the comments section? We got Angus. Wow, got Allen dropping that far. I think so. You know, I mean, trades could certainly happen, and I'm not projecting trades per se in this mock draft. So maybe the Bills move up and really like Allen, get him at number 2. Giants move back. Certainly something to keep an eye out for. Javier chiming in about the 49ers as well. Malcolm Smith, yes, certainly cannot forget about him there at the linebacking court. Tyler, Vita is the only wrong pick. You would take Josh if you're the Miami Dolphins. I understand that, Tyler, and I could actually see the Dolphins going Josh Allen as well at number 11. Keep hitting me up in the comments section, and of course, we'll feature you guys live on the Cam Rogers Show. All right, let's summarize my mock draft so far. How am I doing, guys? Sam Darnold at number 1, Saquon Barkley at 2. We got Rosen at 3, Chubb at 4, pretty standard 4 there. And then Mayfield to Elway's Broncos, Nelson to the Colts, Minkah to the Bucs, Tremaine Edmunds to the Bears. There's Roquan to the 49ers, that Reuben Foster insurance policy, if you will. Denzel Ward to the Raiders, Vita Vea to the Dolphins, Josh Allen to the Buffalo Bills. You're watching the Cam Rogers Show here on Chat Sports Facebook Live. I am Cam Rogers. We are presented by Mizzen and Main Advanced Performance Fabric shirts made right here in America. Check them out on the website, comfortable.af, because these shirts are indeed comfortable as F. We thank you guys for tuning in on this Monday morning. It's draft week. Let's continue along with my mock. Let's go to number 13, the Washington Redskins. Let me just say something. Please, for the love of God, don't select Darius Geis. Please address the interior of that defense. Daron Payne out of Alabama. Vita Vea's off the board, so I think I have to go with Payne here. Could be a minor reach, but certainly a need. The Redskins stunk against the run a year ago, and yes, their linebackers were not very good either, but I don't think linebacker is an option here at number 13. The fact that I've seen Darius Geis at this spot actually is indeed laughable. I really do not want to see Darius Geis go to the Redskins. I don't think running back is that pressing of a need for Washington. You got fat Rob Kelly there, who's a pretty darn good running back in his own right. So, you know, that's neither here nor there. Payne has the potential to be the nose guard of the future there for the Washington Redskins. The knock on him is his pass rushing ability, which is okay. Like, that's fine. If you're going to play him at NT, you don't need him to get 8 sacks in a year. That's okay. And he's going to work on his pass rushing ability anyway. 4 sacks, 5 sacks, that's a solid number there for Daron Payne. Might be asking a little too much out of him in his rookie campaign. But Ziggy Hood at the interior last year was awful. He was ranked 122nd, guys, according to Pro Football Focus, a year ago. So take Ziggy Hood out of there. You got Payne playing alongside Jonathan Allen at end. Be a nice 1-2 punch there for Washington. I like this pick a lot. I like Daron Payne. I do have an obsession with Alabama players too, so there's that. Maybe it's the Ozzie Newsome in me, the Ravens fan. All right, let's go to number 14 in my mock draft. We got the Green Bay Packers. They're a tough one. They're a tricky one. And I think edge rusher is the selection. Could be Landry, but I've got Marcus Davenport. Now, the Packers have a young secondary that I think the coaching staff should trust. I think they should work on it. And the back end had a lot of injuries a year ago. So I think coming back into 2018 with a healthy back end there will really help things. So address the edge rusher position. Yes, there's Mo Wilkerson now in town, but he has only amassed 8 sacks the last 2 seasons. Clay Matthews, Nick Perry, they're good. They work for now. But Davenport is an incredible disruptor that I think can learn from a really good coaching staff out there in Green Bay. Bit of a project, and if you look at the tape, yeah, he has disappeared at times. So his run stopping, nothing to write home about. He does struggle to kind of seal the edge there. But if the Packers do get Davenport at 14, he's going to be more of a rotational guy, at least to start out, until he can bulk up a little more and improve his run-stopping ability. But I think Davenport will be a nice piece there for the Packers. You know, not as a full-time starter, at least to kick things off in 2018, but certainly as a rotational guy. All right, so there are the Green Bay Packers at number 14. All right, let's get to number 15, the Arizona Cardinals. They could be a popular trade candidate to move up, grab a quarterback. But that's okay because Lamar's on the board at number 15. And he goes to the big toaster in the Arizona Cardinals. Perfect situation here. A team looking for the answer at quarterback after Carson Palmer retired. Yes, there's Sam Bradford. Yes, there's Mike Glennon. But they're not the answers for the long term. Let's be real. Jackson is a playmaker. And there's no real major pressure on him to be the Week 1 starter because I just rattled off a couple of quarterbacks that could perhaps be the starters to kick things off in the season. But maybe eventually if the Cardinals get out of the playoff hunt, which is very possible by like Week 9 or 10, playing in a really tough NFC West, I could see Lamar Jackson, you know, inserted into the fold there as the starter under center for Arizona. I could see Ridley, maybe even a Courtland Sutton. Wide receiver is certainly a need. You got Larry Fitzgerald, and then it's like nobody else. Maybe J.J. Nelson, but he's not all that great. Let me know about Lamar Jackson. Will he become a starter in the NFL next season. Give me a heart for yes, a like for no. A lot of teams out there really like Lamar Jackson, and teams kind of in that mid-tier, talking about the Cardinals. The Chargers have shown interest. The New England Patriots as well. So hit me up in the reaction poll about Lamar Jackson there as I track all of your comments here on the Cam Rogers Show. Scott chiming in, any wide receivers yet? No, Scott. Stay tuned for the first wide receiver off the board. Appreciate you guys tuning in. All right. Let's go to the next one. Number 16, my Baltimore Ravens. And let me just say off the bat, for any Ravens fans watching right now, I think they trade back. I just don't like where they are there at 16. I don't think there's really anybody that fits at that number if they move back. I still think they could get this guy and Mike McGlinchey there, the tackle out of Notre Dame. Please, let me just say this. Ravens, don't draft Calvin Ridley. You got Michael Crabtree, you got John Brown, you got Willie Snead as well. Not officially yet. We'll see if the Saints match that offer sheet. But outside of wide receiver here, you got to look at the offensive line. And the reality is, first of all, you have James Hurst slated as center/guard. You got Alex Lewis slated as a tackle right now. That's not the natural positions for these players. So I want McGlinchey inserted there at right tackle, take Alex Lewis out of there, put him back at guard. You got Ronnie Stanley at left tackle and good pass protection as well. And, of course, the Ravens have to address the center position as well. So the Ravens got to focus on hammering the rock with Alex Collins. I think he is the guy there at running back. Mike McGlinchey is a premier run blocker. Pass protection leaves a little to be desired, but that's okay. Right tackle, not as needed for pass protection as, say, a left tackle where Ronnie Stanley is there. So I like McGlinchey there to Baltimore. As you guys know, big boy football fan. I'm all about the line of scrimmage. The Ravens got to win on the line of scrimmage for Joe Flacco to be successful. Flacco needs a run game. He needs that play action down the field. So McGlinchey there to the Baltimore Ravens. Midway through my mock draft, ladies and gentlemen, let's summarize the list. So we got Darnold at 1, Barkley at 2, Rosen at 3, Bradley Chubb at number 4. Then Mayfield at 5, Quenton Nelson at number 6 to the Colts. We got Minkah Fitzpatrick to the Bucs, Tremaine Edmunds to the Chicago Bears. Then Roquan Smith to the San Francisco 49ers, Denzel Ward to the Oakland Raiders, Vita Vea and Josh Allen round out that 4. And then Daron Payne at number 13, like this a lot, to the Washington Redskins. Marcus Davenport, I'm a little uneasy about that pick, to the Green Bay Packers. Lamar Jackson to the Arizona Cardinals. And Mike McGlinchey to my Baltimore Ravens there. And to answer a question about my Ravens real quick, Tyler, yes, the Ravens still have Marshall Yanda coming back from injury, so really important there at the guard position for Baltimore. All right, let's go to number 17 on my list. We've got the Los Angeles Chargers. Big-time value selection here. How about this? Derwin James falling all the way down to number 17. Look, when you have insanity atop the board, which will happen with quarterback, it seems, somebody's going to fall. And I think Derwin could be the guy that just slips through the cracks a little bit here. And I love this selection a lot because the Chargers are likely going to lose Trey Boston to free agency. So there is a need there. And Boston actually still hasn't been signed yet, which is kind of surprising. He's a really good player. As of now, Adrian Phillips is slated at strong safety. He ain't very good. Graded out as the 55th ranked safety according to Pro Football Focus a year ago. James is a fantastic leader. Great locker room presence. I think he'd be a nice, strong safety there, opposite of Jahil Adai there. Play him close to the line, maybe as a box safety here and there. He's going to be a dangerous player for the Los Angeles Chargers that already have a really good collection of cornerbacks, really good secondary that we're really not talking about because we like to talk about the Jags and the Rams and the additions that they have made at corner. But we're talking about Casey Hayward, Desmond King had a really good year, Trevor Williams, and oh yeah, Jason Verrett is coming back from injury. Those are 4 top 25 corners, in my opinion, in the NFL. Derwin James now at safety would absolutely complete that secondary. So you've got interior of that defensive line that certainly has its fair share of holes. Maybe the Chargers go with Mo Hurst there at number 17. I don't like it. I think they have to go secondary here just in terms of pure value with Derwin James at safety. Like him. And incredible value there at number 17. So Melvin Ingram, Joey Bosa coming around the edge. You got Derwin in the back end with a die at safety. You got Hayward and Verrett coming back from injury. It's a really good core of defense. Now, if they just figure out a way to stop the run, the Chargers are going to be very dangerous. Let's go to number 18 on my list, the Seattle Seahawks. Well, they should go offensive line, right? So that means I'm going to go offensive line, right? No, because this is Seattle, and they don't care about the offensive line. They just let Russell Wilson run for his life. So, Harold Landry, defensive end out of Boston College. Now, this could be a little bit of a controversial pick because Landry falls this far to number 18. Look, I understand that. So, with that, really good value pick here for Seattle, a team that certainly has its fair share of needs elsewhere at offensive line and running back, but you look at edge, and I think it makes sense here because Michael Bennett moved on via the trade. We don't really know what's going to happen with Cliff Averill. I like Frank Clark a lot. He logged 19 sacks in the last 2 years, ranked 35th among defensive ends a year ago, according to PFF. But it can't just be Frank Clark. I think Harold Landry kind of helps in pass rushing ability for Seattle. May even develop into a strong side linebacker, too. Some view him more as a 3-4 player, but I think the Seahawks can kind of experiment with him, see what they can get out of Landry. And he really showcased himself in 2016. You guys may recall 16.5 sacks for Boston College that year. 2017 was kind of full of injuries, so perhaps something to keep in mind there with Landry. Maybe that keeps him lower on the board for many GMs out there. So Landry to the Seattle Seahawks at number 18. Let's go to those Dallas Cowboys at number 19. It took me this long, and here we go. Wide receiver off the board. It's Calvin Ridley out of Alabama. So the Dez Bryant era is over, and I have been saying for many weeks the Cowboys should move on from Dez Bryant, and they have. And so I'm going to pat myself on the back a little bit there, but I won't break my arm doing it. So the Cowboys, top of their depth chart, it's Terrence Williams, it's Allen Hurns. Won't exactly scare opposing defensive backs. You bring in Calvin Ridley now. Polished, incredible speed, great route runner. Trust in him if you put him as a week 1 starter. You don't trust Courtland Sutton or James Washington or Christian Kirk, I don't think, to be a week 1 starter. You trust Calvin Ridley to be that wide receiver. And I think it makes sense here. And Ridley at Alabama ran the entire route tree there in that offense, isn't nearly as raw as any of the other wide receiver prospects. And Cowboys fans out there, you always complain about Dez Bryant not getting any separation. This guy is the ultimate separation creator, Calvin Ridley. So there you go. Do you think the Cowboys go with a wide receiver in that first round? Let me know. Let me just remind you, Deron Payne's off the board. Vita Vea's off the board. No reason to go secondary. I like what they have with the Awuzie and Jones now at corner. I think they go wide receiver. It's a glaring need. Also, I could see them trading back, to be honest with you, from there at number 19. All right, Dallas Cowboys, Calvin Ridley. There you go. Let's go to number 20, the Detroit Lions. And I'm going with a guard out of UTEP, Will Hernandez, ultimate bulldozer run blocker that I think could be a week 1 starter there for Detroit. So they got their bruiser running back in LeGarrette Blount. Some people like to mock Darius Geis here to Detroit. I don't see it. At least I don't think it should happen. But I think Hernandez will be a likely selection here for Detroit and Bob Quinn there, the GM. Hernandez has that bowling ball type of build that I think would be quite refreshing for a Lions front line that has struggled mightily to run block in recent years. You got Kenny Wiggins, absolutely awful at guard a year ago, ranking 70th among the position there per Pro Football Focus. TJ Lang even had a downish year, but he'll be there at guard. That's fine. You got Hernandez on the other side, and you got a center with Glasgow who's making strides there, made some strides in 2017. Pretty solid interior. You hammer LeGarrette Blount, little Theo Riddick in third down situations. Hernandez, I think, will be a really good piece to kind of change the flow of the offense for Detroit. Make them hammer the football. You can't throw the football 55 times to Matt Stafford and win a Super Bowl. It's not going to happen in the Motor City. Let's summarize my mock draft so far. We got Darnold, Barkley, Rosen, and Chubb, 1 through 4. 5 through 8, Baker Mayfield, Quenton, Nelson, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Tremaine, Edmunds, and the Chicago Bears get him at number 8. Roquan Smith to the 49ers, Denzel Ward to the Raiders, Vita Vea to the Dolphins, Josh Allen to the Buffalo Bills, Daron Payne, Marcus Davenport, Lamar Jackson, and Mike McGlinchey, 13 through 16 there. Derwin James to the Chargers, Harold Landry to the Seattle Seahawks, Calvin Ridley to the Dallas Cowboys, and Will Hernandez to the Detroit Lions. Brian chiming in about Will Hernandez. Brian saw him play in college, a beast. All right, Brian, so I assume you agree with my pick there. Well, very good stuff. You saw the tape in real life, if you will. Let's go to number 21 on the board. We got the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals lost Russell Bodine to the Bills, so I think they go with this guy. James Daniels, center/guard out of Iowa. I think offensive line is a concern here for Cincinnati. They did recently host Daniels for a visit, which is a positive sign because the Bengals highly value visits, as indicated by drafting John Ross, Joe Mixon, Jordan Evans, all made visits to Cincinnati. So Daniels, really athletic player coming out of Iowa there that prides itself with well-coached offensive lines. Really quick, too. Can move well, good in reach blocks, and he started 11 games in 2016, received third-team All-Big Ten honors, grabbed another All-Conference honorable mention there for 2017. I know the Bengals like T.J. Johnson there, 7th-round pick. He's currently slated at center. I don't think he's the answer, though. James Daniels there to the Cincinnati Bengals. All right, let's go back to the Buffalo Bills. They're at number 22. How about this for some mega value? Rashaan Evans, linebacker out of Alabama. Buffalo, you have found the quarterback of your defense for the next 15 to 20 years. Probably not 20. But Rashaan Evans, love it, love it, love it. The Bills lost Preston Brown to the Bengals. Major gap in the middle of that linebacking core. Evans, slot him in there week 1 at inside linebacker, and you are set. He's long and strong. If you watch the tape, really patient tackler. A la Le'Veon Bell at running back. He's patient with finding his blocks and weaving his way through the offensive line. Same can be said about Rashaan Evans and his patience in terms of letting the big boys up front plug up the holes, do their job, engage linemen, and then Rashaan Evans, boom, attacks. And I think he's a really good linebacker. I think Sean McDermott and Leslie Frazier there, the DC, will like him a lot. Let's go to the New England Patriots at number 23. I'm sure they would have loved to have Rashaan Evans. He's gone. So option number 2, Leighton Vander Esch out of Boise State. I like the defensive line for New England. You got Shelton, Flowers, Adrian Claiborne, a couple of new additions there. The linebacking core is dreadful outside of Hightower. Insert Leighton Vander Esch, who recently visited with New England, won the Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year for a reason. I think he's an athletic freak. He will need some coaching. There's no doubt about that. He's a little raw, and maybe 23 could be a bit of a reach. But I originally had Colton Miller, and I was like, you know what? Everybody has Colton Miller going to the New England Patriots because everybody's saying he's Nate Solder 2.0. I'm not doing it. I think Bill Belichick says, you know what? Everybody thinks we're going to go in one direction. We're going to go in another direction. Leighton Vander Esch to New England there at number 23. Let's go to number 24. We got the Carolina Panthers. So we're at this point where getting a lot of value here. Rashaan Evans, for example, to Buffalo. Josh Jackson, incredible value at number 24 to the Carolina Panthers. Absolutely love this kid. He may even go in the top 15. We'll see. Addresses a need there at corner. They need somebody opposite James Bradbury. Captain Munnerlyn had a down year. Ross Cockrell isn't typically a starter. So Jackson, prototypical playmaker, 8 interceptions in 13 games last year, along with 26 pass breakups. Has that statuesque kind of size there, 6'1", 190 pounds. The concern that may let him fall is his lack of starting experience. Only 14 games, but I really don't care about that. If that is the one knock on him, so be it. He's got good momentum coming off a really good 2017 season there with Iowa. Josh Jackson to the Carolina Panthers. All right, let's summarize my mock draft so far. People are wondering where their team selected. Well, I got you. Sam Darnold to the Browns. Saquon Barkley to the Giants. Josh Rosen to the Jets. Bradley Chubb to the Browns. Baker Mayfield at number 5, Nathan. Got you covered there. I saw your comment in the section. Quenton Nelson to the Colts, Minkah Fitzpatrick there, and Tremaine Edmunds at 8. Roquan, Denzel, Vita, and Josh Allen, 9 through 12. 13 through 16, Daron Payne, Marcus Davenport, Lamar Jackson, Mike McGlinchey to the Baltimore Ravens. Chargers with big-time value with Derwin James. Got Harold Landry there for Seattle, Calvin Ridley for Dallas, Will Hernandez for Detroit. James Daniels to the Cincinnati Bengals, Rashaan Evans, incredible value at number 22. We got Leighton Vander Esch to the Patriots and Josh Jackson at number 24 to the Carolina Panthers. You are watching the Cam Rogers Show, episode 94 here on this Monday morning, presented by Mizzen and Main. These are comfortable as F shirts, sweat wicking technology, no ironing needed, no dry cleaning needed. Products made right here in America. Check them out, comfortable.af, because these shirts are indeed comfortable as F. All right, guys, we thank you for hitting me up with the comments so far. Keep doing so. I'll read what you guys say. Let's go to number 25. On my mock draft, the Tennessee Titans. All right, so I made a last-minute switch here with Tennessee. I got him going with Josh Sweat, defensive end out of Florida State. So the Titans don't have a lot of needs here. They're really solid on the front seven, especially on the interior with Jarrell Casey. They signed Benny Logan. I like Derek Morgan and Brian Arakpo. But here's the thing. They're not getting any younger. And having a true pass rush edge, if you will, would be worthwhile. So I think Sweat is the perfect linebacker for the Titans' 3-4 defense. Use him at Sam or rusher position. Perhaps a bit of a reach, like I said, but I think the Titans can afford it. They can roll the dice a little bit here because their needs aren't as glaring as other teams in the draft. I don't think he's really a fit for a 4-3 defense. I don't think he wants to put his hand in the dirt there. So I think Tennessee is a really good, fit there for the Titans and Mike Vrabel, the head coach there. I don't think he goes offense. Do you? So we'll see what happens there with Tennessee. Let's go to number 26, the Atlanta Falcons. Speaking of a team that really doesn't have a lot of needs, this team's pretty darn set, and you could make the argument maybe Taven Bryan, defensive tackle out of Florida. But no, DJ Moore, wide receiver out of Maryland. Mohamed Sanu, he's a nice wide receiver number 2. But his ceiling has been met, ladies and gentlemen. Moore has some serious upside. The buzz is he could be Sammy Watkins, full-on potential Sammy Watkins. Now, Moore actually could surpass Mohamed Sanu as the number 2 wideout on this depth chart. I like him a lot. I watched him with my own eyes at the University of Maryland. He balled out for a school that could not trot out a consistent quarterback. Have you ever heard of Caleb Rowe? All right, that's all you need to know. Max Bortenschlager, right? These guys aren't world beaters here at the quarterback position. So yet another weapon for Matt Ryan. It could help Steve Sarkisian a little bit more because he kind of had a rough year calling plays. So DJ Moore out of Maryland to the Atlanta Falcons. Let's stay in the NFC South. We've got the New Orleans Saints coming on up here at number 27. Maybe a controversial pick, and maybe it's my offensive line bias here shining through. But I think it's Billy Price, center out of Ohio State. I could see edge rusher. I could see quarterback. So maybe it's Mason Rudolph. Maybe it's Sam Hubbard. But I think Price is a solid player, a top-line center. Max Unger is coming off a brutally bad year, perhaps the worst of his career. And Price could come in and compete against the veteran Unger for that starting gig. I honestly believe that. So, like I said, Hubbard could make some sense here as a player opposite of Cam Jordan. Alex Okafor is coming back from injury. So a lot of mock drafters out there for the New Orleans Saints go with maybe somebody opposite of Cam Jordan there as maybe insurance, depending on what happens with Alex Okafor and his injury issues. So I have Billy Price. I think he may be the center of the future there for New Orleans once Max Unger moves on with his career. So Saints, Billy Price at number 27. Let's go to number 28 now on my mock draft. I really hate this, and I can't believe I'm going to say it, but Pittsburgh Steelers, Darius Geis, running back out of LSU. It's time to realize, ladies and gentlemen, and I think the Steelers might, that Le'Veon Bell may not be around much longer. And I'm talking about after 2018 here, because what the Steelers are doing right now is botching this whole Le'Veon Bell situation and not figuring out a long-term deal. And from what I heard, there hasn't been much progress. So in that vein, I am thinking to 2019 here, and thinking to maybe the next running back of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like I said, I don't like this pick a lot, and it may not make a lot of sense, but maybe the Steelers know something that we don't. Maybe Pittsburgh is planning for the post-Le'Veon Bell era in 2019 and let him walk after the franchise tag, because clearly things are not working out between Steelers leadership and Bell. So there you go. And by the way, one of my good pals there at NFL Network, Dave Damashek, Steelers fan, went with Sony Michel there at number 28. So I feel good about myself picking a running back here. So 3 down back is Darius Geis. He'll be a good one. All right, let's summarize my list so far, ladies and gentlemen. Sam Darnold, Saquon Barkley, Josh Rosen, Bradley Chubb, 1 through 4. Baker Mayfield, Quenton Nelson, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Tremaine Edmunds, the next 4. We got 5 through 8 there. Roquan Smith to the Niners, Denzel Ward to the Raiders, Vita Vea to the Miami Dolphins, Josh Allen to the Buffalo Bills. 13 through 16, Daron Payne, Marcus Davenport, Lamar Jackson, Mike McGlinchey to my Ravens, Derwin James at 17, Harold Landry at 18. We got Calvin to Dallas, Will Hernandez to Detroit, James Daniels to Cincinnati, Rashaan Evans to Buffalo, Leighton Vander Esch to New England, Josh Jackson, great pick at 24 to the Panthers, Josh Sweat to the Titans, DJ Moore to the Falcons, Billy Price to the New Orleans Saints, and Darius Geis to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's go to number 29 on my list here. The Jacksonville Jaguars will select Isaiah Wynn, guard out of Georgia. Now, for Jacksonville, I don't think they go defense. I don't think there really is a need to go defense. So in that vein, I think they look at the offensive line opposite of Andrew Norwell at guard. I think Isaiah Wynn out of Georgia is the perfect bulldozer, hammerhead type of guard that will fit really well in the Jacksonville Jaguars blocking scheme there. They love to go right at opposing defensive linemen and linebackers, and with Leonard Fournette there at running back, I think it's a perfect fit there. A.J. Cann was not very good. So now you got Isaiah Wynn starting at guard on one side. You got Linder at center, who I think is pretty solid, and then Norwell, who probably is a top 3 guard in the NFL. And you're hammering Leonard Fournette on the inside. You may never need Blake Bortles. You may never even need a quarterback out there, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I'm saying. So Isaiah Wynn there at number 29 to the Jacksonville Jaguars is a pretty darn good pick in my opinion. Let's go to number 30. We got the Minnesota Vikings. This is a tough one. They don't have a lot of needs, guys. But I think they look at corner and go value with Jair Alexander out of Louisville. So Wynn is off the board. He would have made sense. So the Vikings grab some good value here in the cornerback out of Louisville. So he has the makings of becoming a really good nickel corner, in my opinion. Could perform well on the outside, too. You got to look at Trey Waynes. And I think you better watch out because Jair Alexander is coming to town, and he could beat out Trey Waynes there at corner. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's very likely to happen. But I'm saying it's certainly something to monitor for you Vikings fans out there. I mean, Waynes was okay a year ago. He's not a great player. Now, I know they have Mackenzie Alexander as well. Good corner there out of Clemson. Watched him play with my own eyes, and I think he's got a future there. But I also think there's a possibility that Minnesota trades back at number 30, maybe with a desperate team that wants to grab somebody at that number. Jair Alexander, though, with no trades projected in this mock draft, some pretty good value there. So I've got him going to Minnesota. Couple of more picks here. We got New England Part 2. I think they go secondary. And I think they go with Mike Hughes, cornerback out of UCF. Love this kid. Was a shutdown corner there in Central Florida. Showed some versatility as a punt and kick returner as well. So a little bit of a Swiss Army knife type of player that I think would fit well in this New England kind of defensive scheme here. Last season returned 20 kickoffs for 635 yards and a couple touchdowns. On punts, he fielded 13, took them for 233 yards and 1 touchdown. A bit raw, could use some polishing, but he's not going to be a starter anyway, at least in the early going. The Patriots have really 2 good corners, Stephon Gilmore, and they're bringing in Jason McCourty as well from Cleveland. So solid players on the outside. They got Eric Rowe as well, but he's like not all that great. But you know, if push comes to shove, he can start. So no pressure on Hughes per se to be ushered in as a starter. Let the New England Patriots defensive staff coach this kid up. I think he will fit really well in New England. So there you go. He's there at number 31. As I mentioned, Kolton Miller was originally my pick, but yeah, no thanks. I bounced out of that one. Let's go to number 32. The Philadelphia Eagles, what will they do? Will it be the secondary? I think it certainly could be. Justin Reed, safety out of Stanford. So they got Malcolm Jenkins, they got McLeod. They're both good. But the potential here for safety at number 32, I think, is fairly high. Well, first of all, the potential for a trade back is certainly within the realm of possibility as well. Howie Roseman has talked about it. Reed, incredible athlete. 90th percentile athlete in 3-cone, the 40, and the broad jump, if you want to look at his combine numbers. He's got really good versatility, a la a Malcolm Jenkins. Has that Malcolm Jenkins kind of feel to him. You can throw him at nickel. Throw him at safety. Throw him at linebacker and blitz packages. And I think maybe he could be the next to the throne there at the safety position in that Malcolm Jenkins kind of role there for Philadelphia. So the Eagles don't have a lot of glaring needs, and it's kind of surprising coming off a Super Bowl where teams usually have to reload in a sense. Philadelphia's in a good spot. Defensive line is good. Linebacking core is really solid. You got Jordan Hicks coming back there on the inside, so Michael Kendricks as well. I think maybe you go with some future here in Justin Reed at that safety position. So I like him a lot coming out of Stanford. Ronnie Harrison could be another argument, but Reed has that Eagles fit in my eyes. So there you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my 2018 NFL mock draft. I am only doing this once. Here is the full summary, though. We'll take a look at 1 through 4. Sam Darnold, Saquon Barkley, Josh Rosen, Bradley Chubb. And then Baker goes to Mile High. Then you got Quenton Nelson, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Tremaine Edmunds at number 8. 9 through 12, Roquan, Denzel, Vita Vea at 11, Josh Allen to Buffalo. Daron Payne there at 13. I like this pick a lot to the Washington Redskins. Fills a need. Davenport to the Packers. Lamar goes to the Big Toaster. Mike McGlinchey at tackle for Baltimore. I think that's important. Derwin James at 17, really good value. Rashaan Evans, oh, we'll get to Rashaan in a second here, sorry. Harold Landry to the Seattle Seahawks. Calvin Ridley to the Dallas Cowboys. Wide receiver is a need. Will Hernandez there on the inside for Detroit with TJ Lang on the other side at guard. James Daniels at center. Bodine's gone. Who's going to play there? Rashaan Evans, there he is at number 22. Leighton Vander Esch at number 23. Josh Jackson at number 24. Like Josh a lot. Then 25, Josh Sweat, defensive end. Bit of a reach. Don't like it a lot, but I'm not really sure where the Titans go here. They don't have a lot of needs. DJ Moore, very solid pick here at number 26. Good value. Could surpass Mohamed Sanu on that depth chart. Billy Price to the Saints. Max Unger ain't getting any younger. Had a really bad 2017. Could it be time to change things on the interior? Darius Geis to Pittsburgh at number 28. Pittsburgh Steelers fans, don't kill me, please. And then at number 29, we got Isaiah Wynn, guard, going to Jacksonville. Will be a nice tandem with Andrew Norwell. Jair Alexander to Minnesota. Mike Hughes to New England. And Justin Reed to the Philadelphia Eagles. He may not emerge in 2018. He may not emerge in the early part of 2019. But Justin Reed will be a gamer. And if he goes to Philadelphia, I think it's a really good fit for him. So there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, my official mock draft round 1. Or, I couldn't do the whole 7 rounds. I'd be here for the whole day, really. So one round done, and it's going to be an exciting opening round here of the NFL draft on Thursday night, no doubt about it. This is the Cam Rogers Show, presented by Mizzen and Maine. Many thanks to them for sponsoring the program. Check them out, comfortable.af. I am Cam Rogers. Hit me up on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. Here's what I want you guys to do. Submit a grade on my mock draft in the comment section. Bring the heat, ladies and gentlemen. If you think it's a failing grade, give me an F-. If you love me, give me an A++. I'll see you guys on Wednesday morning, 10 o'clock Eastern time. Until then, take care.